Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Hi everybody, on this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, Becky and I are reviewing Mourning by Heather Orgeron. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I thought it was Oregon, but then the more I looked, the G is not at the end.
Oh gosh. Okay, well, good thing I don't have to say it. Because we all know how good
So we
I am.
apologize for not saying your name right.
Shoot, I should have put it into like the Google vocal thing because it's always so good at giving me pronunciations.
You want to read the synopsis from Goodreads?
Yes. She's hard up. He's just hard. After an ill-fated one-night stand, Wyatt Landry was the last person I ever expected to see again. By design, mind you, as I spent the last 2 years avoiding him. He was only ever meant to be a good time. A really good time. And now, thanks to one teensy little mistake, he's back in my life and wielding an entirely different set of tools. It's not like I intentionally hired a bogus contractor to redo our chapel, and Lord knows I never imagined Wyatt would ride up in his pickup truck like a knight in thigh-hugging blue jeans to save the day. But here he is, and it takes... And to make matters worse, he's every bit as charming as I remember, and before I can fully process his reappearance in my life, he has my 6-year-old daughter wrapped around his finger, my parents eating out of the palm of his hand, and my best friend shipping us like we're some celebrity couple. Oh, I get it. Shipping us, like relationship. Anyway, thankfully, working in the death industry, I've mastered the skill of compartmentalization. Keeping my growing feelings tucked away should be a piece of cake, except seeing him every day definitely throws a wrench in the plan. Before I know it, we're trading favors for dates, and as much as I don't want to admit it, the feelings for him I thought were dead and buried are taking root and growing into something that looks a lot like love.
Daigle Family Funeral Services. Don't be caught dead anyplace else.
Daigle. Okay. I didn't know how to say the last name. You know?
Yeah, I know. That's why I jumped in there.
Names I'm not good with. Okay, give us the details.
This was released March 2nd, 2021, so it's pretty new. Tropes are second chance, single parent, steam levels 3 out of 5, angst 1 out of 5 because it's very low angst. So,
yeah, it's a true rom-com. Like
it is. Well,
giggle
I mean, just
out loud.
Her blurb, like she did a great job on this blurb.
Yeah, we should talk to her sometime about her blurb writing skills because
she writes good blurb.
She gives good blurb. Look at that. We were full of it tonight.
There's a hashtag for you. I give good blurb.
We come up with the best hashtags. So yeah,
we do.
Let's talk about Whitney first.
Okay. So Whitney is a single mom who seems like she has an air of confidence about her, but at the same time, she seems kind of a mess in some ways. But she has some like really deep-seated worry and confidence issues.
Well, and you and I talked about this a little bit. So I had some problems initially connecting with her. I thought she came off a little flippant. Some of her character growth, I was like, I didn't feel a ton of character growth in this story. She felt kind of one-dimensional for me. But then you and I talked about it. She's young. So she got pregnant.
She's very young.
Yeah. So it was a high school pregnancy. She was 16 when she got pregnant. So this is 6 years later. So she's 22, 23.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, at 22, 23, I was just getting out of college. And I mean, I was not as put together as she is at that age. Like,
right.
I still acted like an idiot on a regular basis. And I mean, she has that like sense of immaturity, but like holds a stable job. Yes, granted, it's in a family business, but like she is competent and smart and capable. And that is not an easy job to have.
It's not. And it takes a lot of schooling. Now, she's not the mortician. She is the director of the funeral home, but I still think, that she still has to learn the trade, know all the ins and outs. It takes a certain
she
type
does
of
all
person.
the makeup for the funeral home also, but I think like there's a maturity in dealing with that type of job and having to deal with that type of situation day in and day out. And maybe that's part of the reason, like in her everyday personal life, like her and her best friend are a little more like crazy just because her work life is so serious.
Yeah, it is. And she can't escape it because she lives in an apartment above the funeral home. So it is constantly there. Her child is being raised in the funeral home just as she was raised in the funeral home. Mm-hmm. So, that creates a whole nother layer of, development to the storyline and such for Whitney. So let's talk a little bit about Wyatt.
Okay.
I have him as a true Southern gentleman. He is the stereotypical good guy. Yes. He dives headfirst into life and just seems to take things as they come. I really loved the confidence he had and his attitude towards Prissy and Whitney. Like he just, every time Whitney tried to throw up a roadblock, he was like, yeah, get out of my way. Yep.
Well, I loved how he was deathly afraid, like no pun intended, to be in the funeral home and like be around that. But he didn't let it bother him. Like he powered through, and like Prissy, which is short for Priscilla, but she gravitated towards him. Like she just latched onto him and he latched onto her, and they made this book like a huge like part of it because I loved them together. Like
they were Priscilla all on her own, and we can talk about her a little bit too before we get into the gist of the story. She has an air of confidence as for a 6 to 7 year old. I think some of that comes from being raised by a single mom, but also her mom doesn't talk down to her. She doesn't treat her like a little kid. I love the scenes between Whitney's best friend is Katie, correct?
I think it's Katie, yes.
And their daughter's name is Lucy. And Priscilla calls her Lucifer, get away from me. I was like this 6-7-year-old is like running from the baby. She doesn't want her to.
But she like gets so excited to like help her grandfather out, like to embalm. That is like the highlight of her day. Like, because that like she was raised in that environment. She's like, I get to do this today. Like I get to help. Yeah. But even so, like her grandparents don't treat her like as a child. I mean, they're still treating her as a child and like teaching her how to be a good person, but like they don't talk down to her. They expect a certain I can't think of the word that I want. Behavior. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough
Words
word.
are hard sometimes.
They are. But they expect certain things from her, and she goes above and beyond that. Like, she is a very mature 7-year-old. And as a parent, like, having a teen mom as a parent, like, that speaks a lot to the way she is raised.
Sure. Yeah. She's a quirky little 6-7-year-old, though.
She is very quirky.
So some of the quirky things about her are, 1, she helps her grandfather embalm.
Yes. 2, her collection.
Yes, she has a collection.
And it's not your typical collection.
It's not. And Wyatt totally feeds into the collection. He helps add to it for her.
Well, of course he would. Like, because that's what he does. Like, he encourages her to be herself. And I think that's the big thing. Like, he encourages her to continue on her path of, like, individuality and being prissy, and who cares if anybody likes her. And I thought that was amazing, too. Like, he was so supportive of, like, her quirks and so supportive of her individuality and the fact that she wears combat boots in black and she doesn't.
And her denim jackets, her leather jacket. And
yeah.
I thought that was... So the premise of the story is Wyatt's moving into town. He is related to Whitney's best friend's husband. They're cousins.
Yes.
He's moving back into town, and he's coming back into town, and he's going to start a construction business. That's part of, he's ready to try some new things. He wants a little distance between him. Wyatt lost his parents and his younger sister in a car accident when he was 10 or 12, I think.
He was, I think so. I mean, it was young enough that he remembers it with great detail.
So he was raised by his grandparents. I think it was his mother's parents. I
believe so, yes.
So he needs to put a little distance between him and grandma and grandpa. So he's moving to this small town where his cousin lives and where Whitney lives. Mm-hmm. And he's coming to start a construction business. And at the same moment that this is happening, Whitney has hired a construction firm for a remodel on their funeral chapel. And she's been swindled because
swindled. Yes.
Like she gave them all the money in cash and
they are now, did not do any work. They just said, peace out.
Now they're no shows. So between her father and her best friend's husband, they talk to Wyatt and he agrees to do the remodel on a slow payment plan. Basically almost at cost because it'll get his name out because this is a well-known family in the town and it'll help get his name out there for more construction jobs.
For more business, yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of at the same moment that this is all happening. Whitney and Wyatt had a one-night stand together when Katie, her best friend, it was her bachelorette party. They had a one-night stand. They hooked up out back from the bar against a dumpster. Super sexy. And that's 2 years previous, and she's kind of avoided him like the plague whenever he's come to visit because she is embarrassed.
Super embarrassed about it because she had just met him and then did him against a dumpster.
Right. So they're kind of friends. This is a second chance. He's always been a little attracted to Whitney. He is definitely the force in this relationship. She is putting up all the resistance. Okay, so this is truly a rom-com, and I don't think we said that in our list of tropes. This is a rom-com romance. Like, this is a romance that will have you dying in laughter.
It is funny. Like, so funny. Like, there were moments where I was reading this and my husband would just look at me and be like, are you okay? I'm like, this is
okay, so
really
share
funny.
What is your funniest moment in this book without spoiling the romance, the story of it all?
When they were filling the urn.
Oh, the urn. Oh my God. So I had to read that part out loud to my husband. Let's just say it was an irregular shaped, custom made urn.
Personalized.
Very, very personalized urn.
Yeah.
And it's because of its shape, Whitney needs some help filling it. And Wyatt's got to hold the urn while she fills it. I'm dying. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I think for me, I think my funniest moment, I got two, they're tied. Early on, Wyatt is sent out with her mother to retrieve a body.
Yes.
And
when
the body's
things are happening,
air is escaping out of orifices in the body, and Wyatt thinks
bodies
the body's
are making
alive.
noises.
Well, first he thought Marie had let some major fart rip, which he and then he hears the gurgling noises coming from the body. He freaks out and loses control of the van and runs over a bunch of mailboxes.
Yes. And she's like, oh, that's normal. Like, it's normal.
And nobody's nice to him. They're all like, you really thought she farted like that?
Multiple times, too, because the body kept making the noises.
So, yeah, that was pretty funny. And then my other moment, it actually involves Prissy. Prissy has a flying squirrel pet, but her mother does not know she has it. It's a secret between her and her grandfather. They keep it in a cage out in the shed. But Wyatt, she shares it with Wyatt, and Wyatt tells her she should take it and put it back away because there is a funeral happening. However, Prissy loses. She loses it. It flies into the funeral.
Yes. And so then there's chaos trying to catch the flying squirrel.
In the middle of a
Whitney
wake.
was so mad. She's like, why are you encouraging this?
Well, yeah, and she thought it was his, and he's like, it's your dad's. So he didn't even sell Prissy out. He totally just threw her dad under the bus there.
I mean, who wouldn't? But I loved her parents too, because like they were so supportive of like everything that she did and of Prissy, and even like the flying squirrel incident. Her dad was like, "Yep, it's mine."
Yeah,
like he didn't throw Prissy under the bus either.
Nope. I did enjoy this story, and there are some serious moments in it.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like we didn't get enough of Wyatt's from Wyatt, like his backstories. You know, he has a history, but I thought that he'd have maybe some more issues with working in a funeral home, dealing with death. I kind of thought that maybe that might throw up some more roadblocks for them to be together. I just thought it would have played a bigger part in the story, but it didn't take away from the story, but I think it would have added a little more depth to character, depth to storyline, just had we had that. But really, I mean, do they break up?
No, they don't have that. They don't have that dark moment where like they have a fight and like they break up. Like there's up and down, and like she's pushing back a lot, but they're really like, aside from the fact that she's trying to avoid him, but not avoiding him because he's like betting on dates and like forcing her to go, basically not forcing her to go on dates, but it's like, if this doesn't happen, you have to go on a date with me.
Well, right.
But like, there was no
does
breakup.
Some big things. Yeah, he does some big things for Prissy, and with it, he got to have dinner, and he did, some kindness for the mom and dad, and they got to go out to eat, and so there's really some push and pull in it, but it's a really good read, and there was never this dark, like heart dropping moment. But she didn't need it because the story was just that good that it kept moving on. Okay, so let's break this down here. Okay. You get to do it because you're in charge.
Oh, that's right. I forgot I'm in charge tonight. You're in charge. Did you like this book?
I really did. I've been in a bit of a reading funk lately. A lot, actually. And this funny, steamy read really got me out of it. It really did. I wasn't liking anything that I was reading. I was totally grumpy about what we were reading. And I read this and it was like, and now I've been on a great track so far. So I really liked this. Did you like this?
I did. I thought it was the perfect blend of funny and steamy. And I don't feel like we've gotten that as much recently. I feel like I've read really funny books that are kind of like missing the steam, or like really steamy books that are kind of missing the funny, like when it's supposed to have both. But I feel like this one, it had the perfect balance of the funny and the steamy. So who would typically like this book?
So I have rom-com lovers. This is your book. If you like a rom-com movie, this is your book. If you're a fan of the Pippa Grants, of the Avery Flynns, this is your book. There's a little bit more steam to it than I would say that Pippa has in hers, but I really do like this. If you liked the show Pushing Up Daisies, used to be a TV show on HBO years ago. If you liked that show, then you will love this book. Honestly, like the back and forth was very pushing up daisies. What about you? Who would typically like this book?
Fans of sassy kids, like fans of like books with funny sassy kids, like single mom books, low angst romances, which sometimes I really need that. And I have rom-coms also, because this was like the perfect rom-com. And
it really was.
Excuse me. Excuse me. And it came at like the perfect time too. Like I feel like I really needed this funny book, like when I read it. So would you recommend this book?
Absolutely. This is one of those that everyone should read. It's so funny. And honestly, again, we've been in such a reading funk lately. I think, and it's not just us, it's across the board. We're seeing it with members of our tribe, and we're seeing it on Bookstagram. And if you look at recent reviews and stuff like that, lots of people seem to be struggling right now. So if you need a book to get you out of a funk, I'm recommending Mourning Wood.
I recommend this. I have recommended it actually. But I feel like it breaks up the chaos of like life right now, because it's really lighthearted, and that's sometimes exactly what you need. And I feel like that's what a lot of people need right now, because we're coming up on a year of like chaos.
Yeah. Well, and there's enough steam in it that it keeps you intrigued. It hits the romance, and we get the HEA at the end. Yeah. I like this that it's standalone. Sometimes we'll read a rom-com and it's really like 2 other stories have to go with it. 3 other stories have to go with it because we're got a group of friends or something like this. This is 100% standalone. It didn't bring in any other friends or any other characters that
there weren't any characters from any, because like Katie and I think Beau is the husband's name, like they're already married, like, and they didn't talk about any other friends or family, or it was a very small like cast of characters, which sometimes I really enjoy that. And that's the thing, it is a strong book all on its own. It is the true standalone.
And it's quintessential romantic comedy. So if you are looking for a romantic comic with a little bit of steam and spice, you should totally check out Mourning Wood.
Definitely.
Okay, you have to tell us we have to say goodbye.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
You're in charge. There's like awkward pause. I'm not going to let Michael edit that out either. I'm going to make everyone else hear our awkward pause.
No, I don't.
Now she's going to die. Okay, I'll say goodbye.
Gotta do it.
Oh my gosh. Everyone, thank you for joining us for this quick shot of romance. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.